Oh, they've had attacks, there have been issues off and on. I guess we could approve it and I don't know. But it doesn't, so what does it matter if it's, paid in 2 weeks?
Depends on if the rest of it.
Depends on what it is.
We just take that out. If we don't pay
Well,
everything.
the adding things,
Right.
between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and now
Right.
is kind of sloppy.
Right.
Without the documentation here.
Well,
Laura can.
the court justice fund, the date is September 18th. Why?
We got lost together.
That one's easy.
We just do this during the meeting there, just get to it and,
Yeah. And,
Where's the?
All right, you're ready.
Find my money things. Well,
Like this, isn't the same thing as it? Yeah.
no, let's gotta change that.
Like we don't do that.
There's my money.
Well, welcome to everyone here gathered, here or in Zoom land. Can you hear me, Rhonda, could you sort of wave your hand? Her thing is off. Rhonda always waving, okay.
Oh, well, are you starting the meeting?
Yeah, we're just about to start. I'm calling the meeting to order. Neither Janice nor Cindy could be here tonight, so the first order of business is to appoint a meeting secretary. And Mariah Hillen has graciously agreed to be our meeting secretary, compensated at the same rate as she would be if she was secretary to the planning board with BZA. So I move that we appoint her to that position. Second. Discussion?
Yeah, call this second.
Yes, any discussion?
Oh, no.
Okay. Mariah, why don't you take the vote?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
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 Yes, I'm done.
You're next.
Am I? Yes, I'm saying yes.
Hunter.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes. Thank you.
Can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there are other additions and deletions. I got news from Dan Klein that he'd like us to refrain from acting on the rapid medical response resolution because the legislature is taking the matter up tomorrow, and they thought maybe being a little bit ahead of the game, so.
Okay, so we'll take
they're
that
taking
off.
that off. And then there are a couple of additions, the budget transfers and reallocation of expenses. And I forgot to put on here, sort of an update on where we are with our applications. And we have a prospect we have a willing person to pick up where Mike Short left off, providing building maintenance and support. So those are additions. Anybody else have anything to delete or add? To mention, Greg also said that he won't be reporting tonight, he'll be reporting next time, and he reported last time. Okay. So that's a deletion indicated down below. Anything else? Not? Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board?
Sorry, did you add this into vouchers in the court? But that comes next.
Well, that's a good point. It should probably be in addition.
It will come when we look at once.
Yeah, it should precede one, so. Well, it's preceding part of it. Yeah, the budget transfer should precede. I didn't mention where we would move these things to, but the budget transfers and reallocation of expenses should probably have before we do the one.
I don't think that should be right.
You're right, it doesn't have implications for that. So you got all the down below.
Yep.
Two, that is what. But, additions will have to be done as part of the consideration. Now, for the good work, and, Russ. Yeah. Come up and play.
Great, thank you for allowing us to do this, and it's good to see you all. Russell Mitchman, yes, N as in Nancy, ITCHMAN. Russell with two S's, two L's. Anyway, I was wondering what the board would intend to do with some nasty stuff that happened on election day. And I think you all probably are already aware of what I'm here to talk to you about, and you probably know who's responsible for each action. There was a call to.
Can we just wait just a
Sure.
Hang on a second, yes.
That's why. Righties and lefties,
Yep.
okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay,
You're all good. That's why.
we good?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay, all right.
Start over.
So, It's okay, all right. Well, on election day, there were things that happened that just are not acceptable. An individual called 911 or the sheriff's office, not sure which, and declared that the Danby Roots group was down here at the firehouse harassing voters, which was not the case. There's a legal right to be 100 feet or further from the polling place, and both Kevin Feeney and Mauricio Medina were there. The police came, they looked around, they looked at the two guys, they gave them a thumbs up, they waved, they went off. It's a false police report. The person who called that in should be arrested for filing a false police report, which is illegal. But more grievous was a person who called the Attorney General and said that there was somebody with a gun at the Danby firehouse, harassing people and interfering with the election. That person is known. I'm not going to mention the person's name, but I think you know who that person is. They're part of the Democratic Party of Danby. They're in a position that is appointed, and I think that that person should be asked to step down and resign. We know this because we went to the Tompkins County Democratic Party office, where Kevin is a member, and really Mauricio is too, as Working Families, and spoke to the chair there, and the name was shared as that was the person who did it. That person, I'm just wondering what you guys intend to do with that. And then finally, somebody took my Facebook stuff and took snapshots. And there's only two people that I know of in Danby who are Democrats who have it. They're both sitting here. And anonymously and cowardice put it on Facebook. And I'm wondering what might be done to that person too. I'm sure you know who that person is. It just was not kind or loving. It's not stuff I stand behind. It was stupid stuff I posted, most of it. Although some things are opinions, I believe, but they had nothing to do with the election. And finally, I guess we met at the election in West Danby. Joel, I didn't think it was confrontational at all. I thought it was very friendly. But you were very upset with Ted Crane and with his allowing us to use his mailing number to mail out our flyer that we did. And I guess my question would be, rather than being mad at him and mad at me and mad at the two who ran against you guys in that election, is to think about what is behind this. What have you guys done and are doing that has motivated people to rise up? I have no ambitions for being a politician. I really hate politics. I am very grateful of your serving. I just don't like exactly what you're doing, the details of it. So it's motivated me to run. But think about reflectively what it is that you're doing that people are upset about. Don't look at it as, oh, we won, we've got a blank check to do whatever we want. I don't think so. We're not going away. We're going to continue to come to meetings, and we're going to continue to be here, and we're going to continue to be vocal about things that we think are overreaching, marginalize people, silence people. We need to be open. We need to be loving. We need to be tolerant of other points of view and really listen to one another and not make personal attacks like that Facebook page did, because people do have feelings. And I don't think we should do that. I've gone too long, but that's my thought, is be reflective of that. I'll probably reach out to you. Maybe we can have a sit down, Joel. And my last comment is, I'm very sorry. I've got an appointment in Trumansburg tonight, believe it or not. A doctor meets evenings and I have a meeting up there. So I have to run out, but I needed to come and say that I missed the last meeting, but I hope to make the next one. So I just would like to know what the board intends to do with really these three instances: violating a person's personal space on Facebook where the things were said privately to friends. Some were stupidly said. Many of the things that were snapshot up there, I don't stand behind. Some of them I do, because they are my opinion. The person who called the police, we've heard 4 different names as possible people. One even being a spouse of one of the board members here. But for calling the police, saying that we were doing something we were not doing. And then third, the person who you know who it is, who called the Attorney General. I think she should be asked to step down from her position and resign and be reappointed by somebody else. I think that's fair. Anyway, I'd love to hear a response, but then I'll need to run. Thank you.
It's a quick response.
Sure.
You know, the issues you're raising should be raised with the Democratic Party. They're not really relevant to us. And I think they're worthwhile raising with the Democratic Party. I will say that neither Catherine nor I had anything to do with it.
How would I do that since I'm not a part of the Democratic Party? I'm an independent, member.
You don't have to be a member of the Democratic Committee to attend and address the group much as one would here.
Okay.
And if you'd like to, we can see if we can arrange it.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Well, wasn't there another issue? The other issue was that you said something arresting somebody or something like
I
that?
said it's
It was
illegal.
a false arrest.
That's not, that's again,
The Attorney General is an illegal action. A false report to the police is an illegal action.
well,
not
then
them.
I,
Have the authority.
again, it's not us, it's,
And
Not-
I you arrest them. No.
Not something we did.
right.
Originated with the
I don't
Democratic
think this is the place for discussion.
No.
This is
No,
a
it's not.
Democrat Party thing that you're talking about, not a town board. The town board is not in charge of the Republicans or the Democrats or the working parties or anybody of any party or no party can be elected to the town board, and that it would still be the same thing. It's not a town board issue about political party actions. So it is, if you want to address it to the party itself, that's a separate issue. I mean, I'm refraining from responding from some of it because you just brought this to our attention at the town board, and I, of course, have a reaction to it, but it's not the time or place.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yes, Rhonda had her hand up first, I believe.
I just have a couple of things. I went over the CEO's report and I have just a couple of comments about that. I found that the fees were confusing and unequitable, I guess, is what I would say. For example, I had a roof put on that was $12,000 and I paid $50 for a fee. And there are people on the report that have a value on their roofs of double and are also paying $50. Then we have somebody who's building a house for $300,000 and they paid $309.50, and someone who's building an addition for $700,000 and they're paying less. And so I don't understand how the fees are set up. I would like to see them be a little bit more equitable, and I would like to see them be explained maybe in this newsletter that you put out. It's not a criticism of Steve. It's just that I think that the fees need to be looked at. That's the first thing, and that they need to be more equitable. The second thing is that concerning 610 East Miller Road, and this doesn't have anything to do with the owner itself. I know who the owner is, but they're building this addition for $700,000. Now, I like my neighbors to feel that they can have confidence in me and know what I'm doing and that sort of thing. And that's why I really support the planning board, so that people can come to the planning board and have things discussed at the planning board. If we're going to have people who are putting on additions that are either the size or the expense of an actual house, I would like, I'm sure they go through the planner, but I would also like to see them be required to come to the planning board and have the planning board look at this. So we have the community looking at this enormous project, and then allow there to be a hearing so that the person's neighbors can also say, oh, gee, you're putting on an addition to your house that costs $700,000. So I just feel that we need to add another step to that and require that there be, for really big projects, and we can set either a size limit or a dollar amount, to have the planning board get involved and then have there be a hearing. That's the second thing. The other thing is that I went through the wish list and it was really long, ambitious, long. I'd like to see the wish list be reconfigured in a different way. Maybe, I mean, the way that it's done is nice, but I would like to also see it done in a different way. Perhaps maybe could we have the wish list be set up by the possibility of getting things done? For example, these things are grouped in this category because they're easy to do. The next category is stuff that's a little bit more difficult to do, but still possible. And the third category is stuff that's a little bit hard to do. And the fourth category is stuff that's really tough and we're going to have to work on it. We're going to have to get a grant. Something like that. That's just a suggestion, but I would like to see them grouped in a different way so that I can get some idea of how well they can be accomplished and how quickly they can be accomplished. And I don't have any objections to any of them that I can think of, but I would just like to see the list reconfigured slightly so that I can get a better idea of what you're wishing for. Thank you.
I have a question, Rhonda.
Yes.
Rhonda. I'm
Yes.
sorry, the first item that you talked about was a report. What was the name of that report?
It's the Code Enforcement Officer's report. And it's part of the agenda, Code Enforcement Officer's report.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ted?
There we go. Two items. First one is, I can very clearly hear Rhonda. I heard Russ very well. Paul, you're okay. Everyone else, we're hearing mumbles and garbles. And if your microphones are on, which I see the colors on them sometimes, you really, those microphones on a stick are not very sensitive. You have to get within a few inches of them. Otherwise, all we're hearing from you is garbles. That would be very much appreciated. I wasn't expecting Russ to speak, and I recognize, as you do, that what the topic he mostly chose to speak about is not the purview of the town board. Yet we cannot fail to recognize the fact that sitting at that table are 4 members of the Danby Democratic Committee. And so it's not the best moment to talk about this, but I think that you should hear what he said, and I'd like to add something to it. I guess I'll start by saying that my mailbox was vandalized over the weekend. And to be honest, that could be nothing more than youthful hijinks. But it was the only mailbox vandalized that I know of in the area. And I can't help but to think of how that could easily be related to other things that have been happening in Danby. And I would like to point a finger directly at the Danby Democratic Committee. Like I say, there are 4 of you sitting there, for encouraging the kind of atmosphere that is, shall we say, enabling people to be nasty. I have been talking to a few people, very few, and it seems to be common knowledge spread by the Danby Democratic Committee about, let's just say, some things about me that aren't true. We have Russ's report of 2 false. Those are either misdemeanors or felonies, depending on how they're prosecuted. 2 false police reports, one of which is known to have come from a member of that committee. We have a list of, I don't know what right word to put on it, complaints about me that the Democratic Committee is about to publicize. And item after item is based on false information. It's not only false, it's so false that a subset of the committee, which had already made a vote, attempted to remove one of the items from it because they had an admission from someone that they made up the item. You are all aware, I'm sure Joel, at least I've seen Leslie post there as well, of the kind of vituperative, the kind of thing that really happens on social media, but where some people just let down their censors. And I think that you can encourage that. And also,
any person can address this board on any topic, but this is not relevant to what we're here about. And I did mute Ted because it was.
I'm sorry, Joel, but I can't understand what you're saying. Could you please cozy up to the mic?
What I was saying was that although the board anyone can address the board on any topic, this is not something, as we mentioned before, that's particularly relevant to our work here or anything that we as a town board can do anything about. So the proper place to take it up is with the Democratic Committee, not with the town board. And you ran out of time.
With respect, Joel, I believe I took less time than the people ahead of me, but that's okay. I think I made my point, and I think that
I can't be criticized for allowing people to run over when the rules, really should apply to everybody. But they did it, so
And we
that's
are
frustrating.
we do
Maybe
need
we need a
we-
timer.
yeah.
Yes, how do you? Then relevant stuff.
Yeah. Hi. Coffey. Hi, I just moved here with my partner, and it's a very beautiful town. And I feel like everyone in this room, and obviously on the internet, because they cared enough to break away from what they're doing, cares about this town. And I come from a very politically active family, and most of them are very different in views, but they always listened to each other, and they didn't do a lot of infighting. I realized this was a really tough election for everybody. I know a lot of people's feelings got hurt on both sides, but I feel like we have a short window of time to get a lot of stuff done in this town, and that moving forward and being kind to each other and recognizing if you're mad, talk to that person face to face. But this is just a lot of these people that are listening, and myself we raced here to watch this. And I don't want to dismiss anybody's feelings, but I also feel like there's a time and a place. And right now, I just wish everybody could find a way to work with each other and move forward so that the very expensive amount of money we're spending to move here and build a community and to build a space and like get to know all of y'all. I'm losing my train of thought 'cause I'm so stressed. I just want everybody to take a step back and realize the things that actually matter and find a way to work with each other, because it's too hard. It's too hard. And this doesn't feel like it's helping. And I mean, not for everybody. I'm not pointing my finger or my thoughts to anyone. And I'm also a horrible public speaker. So I'm going to get off now, but I hope everybody has a good night. And that's it. Bye.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Steve?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Sorry, that took a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you please?
Okay. Great, thanks. Yeah, that was a really great sentiment. I forgot her name who just spoke, but I would echo everything she just said. Yeah, we're all here to make this town a better place, and I totally know that that's what every one of you are on the board for. Thank you for doing your part. I just wanted to put out there one more time that, you know, when the town board created the committee to look at the noise law, I was part of that. And I felt like we were all sidelined. We're volunteering our time. We're not charging anything. I have 7 or 8 years experience on the planning board. There are people who actually teach city and regional planning who are interested in participating in this process. And so I would just ask the board that before spending more time with the lawyer coming up with another draft that's just going to go in the trash can and cost us a bunch of money, if you could consider one more time creating a group to look at that issue. And so thank you so much for everything you're doing. I'm just going to leave it at that. And yeah, have a great night.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. There was a little bit of correspondence. Let's see, we have the confirmation from the Department of State that local law to override the tax cap if necessary was received. File. Don't know if there's any announcements. So, okay, so moving on. We have the town clerk's report. We have the code officer's report as Rhonda remarked. Yeah, 3 inches from this microphone, and it's still people have trouble hearing.
If you tip, when you look down like this is what happens. Put it down when you're looking down at your paper. So
Like
you're
that?
still there.
Does that help?
He said, yeah.
Good, yeah. It was attached to the agenda.
Not my.
Not mine.
No, there's no report, I thought it said.
No, that was, there's no minutes,
Oh, right, no
but
minute.
there is a clerk's report.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was $500 and some dollars. Let's see, what was it? 564 or something.
No, there's quite a lot this time, actually, because there was a bunch of building permits.
That's in the
Code. Oh, that's code report. No, that's in the clerk's report. Because what people paid the permit is part of the clerk's report.
Oh, I didn't see it because it must have come out much later.
It's mid-afternoon, but which like 1,700 is building permits. And I too remarked the interesting thing about the $700,000, $700,000 addition having a lower permit fee than the, and maybe Stevie, could you take a moment to explain why that was?
So the $700,000 addition is not that big. So it's based on the square footage of the project at 25 cents a square foot. The cost is so high because of the style of the structure that they're building, and the interior finishes and things like that are very high end from what I can tell from the drawings. And a lot of it is outdoor living space, which, you know, doesn't require a permit, but it is included in the overall cost.
What's the square footage?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's whatever the fee is divided by 25 cents. But then you also have to take into consideration the garage figured at 10 cents a square foot. So I don't know the answer to that.
That was my surmise, but yeah, thanks. And there are no meeting minutes. Greg said he would report next time. He reported last week. Which brings us to the warrant. There were late additions, which that's that sheet that's on the table.
Go back to Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it changes the total and it adds a couple of items to the list.
Were those I'm sorry, were those the two Cintas that I put down there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if they made it through or not.
Yep.
Okay.
We didn't see any receipts for it,
For the Cintas.
for this, the last three, first four were there.
Okay, I had sent them in. Let's see if I can share screen. Oh, the host has to get me to be able to do that. I've got two invoices here. Yeah, I can't share my screen. I'm sorry, guys. I've got two invoices, the two that are mentioned on the table there, and I had scanned them and sent them through email to the town clerk's office. So, how shall we do this? We really have to get these two paid. If you guys would go ahead and approve this, I'll make sure that these get to you. There's an actual one here for a total of $81.79 for Cintas for the highway department on 93 Hornbrook Road. Invoice number 518-033-2069. I'm holding it here. Sorry, guys. I know you can't see that, but that is an invoice that we owe for some cabinet supplies. And that one was dated back in October. So they're calling to get that paid, and that's why. And I'd sent these in, but somehow they did not make it onto the abstract. And another one that didn't make it onto the abstract that I'd sent in is another one, invoice 518-430-5302. If you're looking at that on your table for $75.24. I mean, I'm just thinking if you could approve that, we'll have it available to you at the next meeting so that you can put your eyes on it, so you know for sure that that's what's happened. And I could also email that to each one of you individually so that you know that you do have your eyes on it. And it is an actual invoice that has to be paid to Cintas.
Laura, there's actually a third one.
for $70.88.
And that was for what company?
November 15th, Cintas.
That's it, to
Yeah.
Town Hall Medicine Cabinet restocked.
Oh, because I've got that one for 75. Can you tell me the invoice number?
5184-305-303.
303. Now, is that on the abstract itself? Let me see.
Yes, it was added on after I looked at it this morning.
Okay, so maybe she had another one also. I only sent in 2 that needed to be added on, actually. Maybe she found it.
Hall.
Yep, that was for town hall, so possibly she
right.
found
Not the
another.
highway.
It's dated 15 November.
Yep, I've got another one here dated November 15th. Can you tell me the address?
The town hall.
Town hall. Okay, so these all go through the abstract on the general fund. That's why you see even the ones for the highway department, you see them on the general fund abstract. Because they're a 5132.4, they're for the garage. So you will see those on there. And then Janice must have found another one that she added in addition to that to the town hall. So if we take these 3 numbers and add them together, that will be the increase in the amount to the Cintas and the increase in that amount to the total. Yes.
Laura, she already did that on the abstract. She already added those in.
No, she didn't.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
No, she didn't.
The new one is.
Well, not if you also include the $2,000 for,
Doesn't add up.
I mean, I'd like to move the general fund vouchers 377 through 394 for $33,000, $33,496.40.
Which includes that other $2,021.
Right, they weren't added in.
That wasn't added in.
Well, no, because the original was
33,000.
31,147,
Okay.
and the new one is 31,475, so it just stuck out by the sort of thing.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
And that's that Justice Fund
Right,
addition, which was from August. Got lost.
yeah.
Second.
And does that include then in that total, these 3 Cintas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, guys. I'll make sure that you get your eyes on them for sure.
All 3 of them.
Cool.
Excuse me.
And we have the documentation for the court fund.
Yeah, I think she needs this back though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I don't have further discussion about this, but Laura, did you get that email, Bill, from Teresa Albert for the youth program?
Yes, I did. I did get that from Teresa. We'll take a look at that and make certain we get that on the next abstract at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yes, I did get it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Hunter.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Gannon.
Yeah.
I'll move the highway fund vouchers 236 to 238 for $69,716.29.
Second.
We're good on that one. There you go. Okay.
No, I'll catch up eventually.
Connors. Yes. Hanson.
Yes.
Hunter.
Yes.
Woodward.
Yes.
Gannon.
Yeah. Right. Good. We have the resolution authorizing approval of the municipal cooperative agreement for the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium What's different about the resolution this time is that it's not just for this year, but for future years, unless we pass some sort of resolution rescinding that authority.
And the changes that the supervisor are allowed to sign
Yeah.
for things.
Well, I mean, it's always authorizing the supervisor to sign.
Yeah.
But it's basically authorizing the supervisor to sign, not
For the
only this one,
future.
but future ones
Yeah.
too, unless you say otherwise.
Right.
So,
I move the resolution.
I'll second that.
any discussion? Okay.
Okay, Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth. Yes. Daniel.
Yes. For the review of the wish list. I brought this up.
Better to do the budget
You want to just go
transfer
to the other
first.
step first?
Well, the budget transfer probably, so we don't forget it.
Because it's not, well, it's on there.
The budget
I know we do it
transfers.
now.
If
Right
you
after
want
we
to take
do.
things out of order, you know, okay, with that.
Yeah, I'd like to do that too.
So there's two resolutions here, one for budget transfers and one for reallocating expenses.
I move the resolution to transfer budgeted funds between accounts.
I'll second that.
Just adjusting the budget so that we have enough to cover any,
Yeah.
we're not deficit spending in the lines. Any discussion about it? Okay.
Connors,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Woodward. Yes. Shannon.
Yes.
Hunter, yes.
I move the resolution to transfer amounts, expense amounts between accounts.
Allocated.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Money that was already spent, but out of the wrong account, basically. Doesn't change the budget, just changes
Right.
where things got charged to.
Right. Hey, Laura,
Yes,
are these, the transfer amounts and this reallocating, are they on the account analysis sheets? Are they
Are they-
included in the, are they included in the account analysis sheets?
no, here's the reason why I didn't include them, because I wanted you to see on the
Right.
account analysis, those negative numbers in that remaining right-hand column. Wanted you to
Okay.
see those, and then these,
Right.
these transfers will take care of that.
Right, okay. That's right.
And we'll also get all that, TCNS, all those TCNS expenses that flowed through the building account number. They'll get them
Hey,
into
buddy.
an account
Oh,
number.
that's okay. Sorry, I could have sent you a message.
They'll get them through the account
Steve,
number that,
you-
the account name that is more appropriate. Which is the, information technology. So I've got that all transferred around, so we'll see that, those things in the right places for the end. Another thing I wanted to, we were talking about that, take a look at the remaining, what you have remaining in the budget, and the amount right above the payroll. I haven't updated the payroll yet. We're right on with the payroll, so, you know, we're right on. I haven't done that part of it yet, to make sure it was up to date. But right here in the general fund, this is as of the last abstract, because I didn't have this abstract to get that information on. Look at what's remaining in that budget, $118,000. So we're looking to add some to the fund balance, I would imagine here. We're doing very well with that. So we have 3 more abstracts to add to this. And we will see the results of a lot of hard work this year at really watching these expenses. For that one, also, you'll see in the highway, that one is figured up right up through to this abstract that you just approved. And in that remaining, not including the payroll, and there's more in the payroll that will add to it too. We still have a remaining of 150,000. So we're doing really well, and hopefully we will be able to report some good things at the end of the year where we're building things in, and you know, we're being mindful to looking at that fund balance, and then the decisions that you all made to use some of it for the next budget. You'll see the fruits of that decision as well.
Thank you.
Looking forward to that little bit of good news.
Thank you. Hey, it's always good to have good news, isn't it?
Yeah,
You.
we haven't voted.
What have we not voted on?
This one, answer, census accounts. Right.
Okay,
Moved and seconded.
moved and seconded.
We did the
Budget
transfer.
transfer, but we haven't done the reallocation.
Yes.
So I guess we're ready to vote though.
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter. Yes. Woodward. Yes. Gannon.
Yes. I didn't have a checkpoint. Shall we go back to, or do you want to? Well, let's do the next item up there, the status of applications.
Oh, yeah.
As I see it, and check, and Leslie sort of
Oh,
our
back here.
point person here.
Huh.
We've got no more than one applicant for any position, and we're actually short a couple of people and a couple of positions. Well, we don't.
The EMC,
Yeah, we got nobody for MC.
and we have some CAC spots,
Yes, and also the
youth, yeah.
we've got just one person in the youth commission, right? Madeline?
She's the one who's leaving, right?
No,
I mean,
she's going to
she's
stay.
re-upping, but yeah,
Yeah, but there's nobody else applied.
not yet.
I'm a little disappointed we didn't get more applicants for CAC, because we thought we had a couple prospects, but, that didn't happen.
Let everything calm down and maybe they can be.
Yeah. So, what shall we do about this?
I mean, I think tonight we were supposed to sort of go through the applications or mention the names of the people who've applied and decide whether or not we feel the need to interview
Yeah,
at the next meeting.
we're not looking at anybody new here, but
No.
had we had additional people apply, then we wanted interviews, but we haven't.
Right.
So I think if there's anything more to be done, it's to put it out there that there's still openings and encourage people to apply for them.
Right.
Because they will become vacant. Some of them are already vacant. And happy to entertain
Right.
Applications.
Well, maybe we should, in case there's anybody here who wants to interview any of these people. I mean, the CAC, the people whose terms are up that are interested in reapplying are Joel and Brittany. And then we also got an application from Ann Klingensmith.
But Ann didn't apply.
Huh?
But Ann didn't apply.
Yeah, she did.
Leslie just said she did
Yeah,
receive
I
an
have,
application.
I have it with me. I have the
saw it.
application.
I saw it online.
You saw it?
I knew she was hoping to, but.
Yeah,
I-
she probably
but I
did
didn't
it
see
this
what she
morning
did.
or yesterday.
Oh.
Planning board, Scott Davis, BZA's Toby Dean, Water District was Peter McDonald, Youth Commission was Madeline, and Rec Partnership was Marnie. So those are the applications we've gotten so far.
Yeah, so all of these are re-ups except for Ann.
Right.
And
And
she has been, wasn't she on it?
she was on the
years
planning
ago?
board.
Oh, planning board. She
Right.
wasn't on CAC when I
No.
first came?
She might have been
I
maybe
think she
one
was.
meeting.
She wasn't
Yeah.
for long. She has been attending meetings though.
Yeah,
2 or 3. 2 or 3.
right, good,
And told us at the last meeting that she was going to apply.
yeah.
So, what feel the need to interview her?
Because
I don't either. She's
I
been
know her
coming
pretty
and
well.
yeah.
Known quantities.
Even I know her.
Yeah. Okay,
Wait till she finds out everybody knows her.
so I think, I don't know, we could put something on the website, saying that we have openings, very good to apply.
For the CAC and the youth partnership or the youth
For
commission
the youth commission
and the EMC.
and EMC, yeah, EMC, CAC, and
CAC.
I mean, people, well, the deadline's passed for other ones.
Yeah.
It's passed for those two, so that we still have vacant. we still
Right,
have
these
open-
are openings, so
They're
that's
still
different.
remaining
People could
open.
apply anyway.
Yeah.
So how are you advertising and?
Well, that's
is
what I was
it-
just starting to say, we could put something on the website.
Yeah, can you put it on like a front page?
Uh-huh.
I mean, so that as soon as you open up the website, you see that,
Yes.
that these are,
Apply now.
apply now, really?
I think,
Be part of
it
the town.
actually did say
What it
that.
was up for.
Let's
it
see, it
was, but-
Yeah.
We could put it on the Facebook page too.
EMC, CAC, youth commission.
We could put it on Danby Southfield Facebook page too.
That's,
And we could, well, we've already, we could put it in next to the newsletter as well.
yeah. So that's the EMC, CAC, and the youth commission. Am I missing one?
I think that's it. Oh, places
It
we
right-
could to put,
Sorry, I'm gonna say it is right on the front page. It says get involved, multiple Danby board and committee meeting positions. Thing is, the thing is that when you go to the page, these things, the banner changes, and so it depends when you click on it, what you see. And I just, there now it says winter preparedness. It's a rolling banner, but it is there.
Mhm. Well, that's 1 out of 3.
Is it clear enough?
No,
What I
because it's the banner rotates, so
Rotates, right,
we need to,
If we can
You need to-
Find a way to-
make it even more prominent, but
right.
Well, we
down
either,
below.
the problem with that is either we have the rolling or we don't, because that's where it is. So there is,
Well, it could be
and that's
elsewhere.
on the front page.
yeah.
So do we,
website is a long-term issue that has to be.
right, exactly. So it isn't,
I mean,
it
it might
is
be-
there and it does change.
Yeah.
And you, if you click these little things, it comes right up.
Yeah.
The problem is if you don't know to click the arrows,
right,
but it's all the things showing what's happening.
I
It's the
could,
second,
I could talk to Janice about whether there's any way to feature it more prominently.
well,
it's about as prominent as that can be.
yeah,
That's pretty prominent.
Yeah, it
but
is.
isn't there a listing down below of some?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have it in big print, just to have a listing.
Yeah, well, the design of the website, this is the way it is right now.
Yeah, okay,
And,
because the rotating thing is,
it
throws people off.
it does.
It's a long-term issue. with
Yeah.
the website.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
obviously revise that.
At least you could click on it now, for a while you couldn't.
Yeah, but you have to know to click on it.
Yes,
Right.
You have to see that.
but you
little-
might soon.
It flips on its own. It does flip on its
Yeah.
own. You just sit
You
here and
start
change.
reading it,
Yes,
Yes,
and, but then you try and read the little print,
you
and
can.
then it switches to something else, so you
Yeah.
have to wait for,
Right.
but I didn't realize you can click and,
You can click,
or
but it also
control
rotates.
okay.
you can
Well,
make that
we
rotate
didn't
faster.
realize, other people realize. Wouldn't it be nice just to have it
It will-
just
it
below
will
that
be.
in script that doesn't move?
Yeah.
We have hopes for,
I feel like I'm,
There's a lot of
You're
things we
not-
need to change in the website. That's
Right.
one of them. That's why that's a
Yeah.
major,
It's-
that's a priority for beginning next year.
Next year.
right, is work on the website.
That's
Okay.
not the only problem.
okay.
No, but, presenting one.
So I do the employee first or?
We could do that. We're doing the additions before we do the rest.
Well, right now, we're still in the, what-
It's not, and it's not on
It is on the agenda.
the positions.
not mine.
Well, it was a very late edition.
2.3,
2.5.
Well, in the addition.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
2.5.
Good to ask. Get it back on track.
Well,
Yeah, I know it, yeah.
Because I printed it out.
yeah,
I did look,
Yeah.
see that it was, yes.
So it's gonna change.
well,
I saw that it was gonna be updated.
So, the good news is, thanks to Steve, in no small measure for prospecting for us, he approached, Zach Hawkins here present about the possibility of, stepping in where Michael was doing our support. And, I spoke to him and he's willing, to pick it up pretty much where Michael left off in much the same terms. So, I guess I would like a resolution of support for doing that. I move that.
Should we ask him to leave the room?
No. Second.
What did you say?
Yes, leave the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to say then. Anybody-
So what was Michael doing? Did he have a list of things he was doing?
He did what I asked him to do.
Okay,
Basically, when things were brought to my attention, I created a to-do list for Michael and then he got to the next bit. So he did, did a bunch of stuff for us over the course of his service. There was stuff at the end of the service that didn't get done, which is not going to pick up. Notably, fixing the front door bottom bar position, adding the,
And we're gonna pay him his rate.
yep, exactly. Well, you can't, as soon as we pass this resolution, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see one thing. I'd like it known to all the people who, in the staff, that they have a point person to bring a problem to.
Yeah.
And because that's been an issue before, nobody knows who to ask to do something. And, so somebody might say the door needs to be fixing, and they say it like this, and nobody's there to hear it. So somehow that it makes it somewhat formal that we have a point person.
Well, I mean, I was that point person, but it is sort of interposing me between, the need and getting it.
Right.
It's always gonna be someone. Mariah is going to take that position because she's in the office all the time. Yes?
She'll get likely to have people say things to her, but then she knows to, see, what I'm getting at is, are we requiring an approval person here or what? Or do we just say, hey, Zach, can you fix this? And who does it? Who's allowed to say it? Am I?
good point.
I would
just
say
well,
Mariah and Joel.
Let me say that, I feel overall responsible.
Yeah.
So I do think that.
For the building,
That I
yeah.
really ought to be interposed.
Then when you get the thing, can you get right to it?
It's not that I haven't been doing it.
I know, but we had a person who wasn't, and what
Yeah.
happened is a bunch of things just didn't happen. So,
Well, there's not much that didn't happen, it just took something that didn't happen timely.
well, I should have said that. Timeliness was
In a
not.
timely
yeah,
manner.
timeliness.
I mean, you could, if you want to cite particular examples, I can tell you what the hang up was, but, like the crash bars, for instance, where we did the research, ordered them, the order got canceled, didn't get followed up on, Michael was waiting for the clerk, didn't happen.
Right.
That's what happened in that instance. He's been pretty good otherwise. Yeah, are we ready to go?
I move that we hire Zach as,
I didn't hear the move. I didn't hear it either.
oh, yeah.
Paul wants to do that.
Already in the record.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Gannon.
Yeah.
All right, Zach.
he's got a
Yeah.
job. He's got a job.
Toilets.
Get him out.
Whatever they do. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
That sign up. More fun at night, it's highlighted.
Did I share with you already that Gary managed to fix the occupancy center for the? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. The court had an issue with the switch.
Did we vote?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yep. Let's see. And now we go down to the regular stuff. Yes, because 9.3 got pulled. So the further consideration of the wish list is the balance of the agenda. So I was hoping that we would try to highlight or point out things that are potentially includable in the use of our the American Rescue Plan Act money idea, because we've got $300,000 more or less that we need to find a use for. We have to commit it by the end of 2024, but it would be well to commit it well before then, because any contracts that are signed in conjunction with it will not be modifiable after January 1st, 2025. So if anything goes wrong, there have to be additions, can't do it. We can do it if the action happens in 24. So we should get to it sooner than later.
Can you define it? You said rescue, what was it?
American, it's basically, American Rescue Act.
Okay.
American Rescue Plan
Is there
Act.
limitations in how it could be used?
Well, there was in the beginning. What happened is that over time, it was supposed to be tied to costs that were incurred as a result of COVID. That was a rather small list in our case, because the major impact was on sales tax, which we don't take. So it didn't have much of an impact on our budget. And then they broadened it a little bit and allowed, I think there were 3 general areas. You could use it for broadband, you could use it for roads. You could use it to reimburse personnel costs that were different because of it. You remember, Laura, what the 3 things were that you could use it for initially?
Right. Originally, they were looking at doing different things with payroll through COVID when people stayed on working.
Broadband.
Yeah, anything to do with broadband. They had opened it up through that too for things like with the water, with the sewer projects. Those kinds of things. It was pretty limited when it first came out.
Right.
You know, when they first put it out there, it was pretty limited, and you really had to show, you know, how this was being used because of that this project was because of the pandemic. Something went on with the pandemic, but now they've opened it up to almost anything. I'm so sorry I don't have a definite answer yet about that solar array, but I cannot imagine that they will have, I mean, it's even opened up further. I can't imagine if they've got, you know, allocations in there for different things with water, you know, projects, highway projects, that they wouldn't open it up for something like that for us to purchase our solar array. So, I mean, I think that's something that's on the list that you guys have talked about.
Yeah.
And of course, we haven't even made the decision yet if we're really actually going to purchase that in 2 years. But it's, or year.
Time frame that we have to use it in?
Yes.
By this,
So the funds have to be committed by the end of 24, and you have till the end of 26 to actually spend them.
Yes.
So in other words, contracts have to be signed. The work doesn't have to be done, you know, and the contract is paid, if you're farming it out, by the end of 26.
how much is it again?
About 300,000.
Wow.
It's
Cool.
a significant.
So it's like 324,000, something like that, Joel.
but we've already committed part of it, because we decided in 23 to use to use part of those funds to fund the upgrade in our IT.
IT. That's good.
We can't use it for the continuing operation, but we could use it for the upgrade.
Right.
And that is a constraint. I mean, you can't use it for operating funds, but you could use it for we could use it for practically any capital expenditure.
So this is paperwork at this point, right? So,
Well,
I mean,
what
it'd be
we need
easy.
to do is identify prospects
What are we gonna spend the money
for
on?
which we might want.
I mean, I'll just say too, because there's always work to be done. Pick the roads that need to be worked on and pick the solar array. And then put that out there that we're gonna use it, then we can always move funds from highway back again, no?
No, once you put it in highway, you can't take them back.
Well, we
Once
could use
you
it,
commit it. Yeah, once you commit it, by the end of, you have to use it for what you committed it for.
You can't change your mind.
Well, I mean, we could change our mind before.
well,
Maybe
is there ever a surplus at the end of the year that we can, that get rolled over to the next year?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, we're golden.
But it needs to get spent by 20.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with that. This has to do with these funds we need to do it. I would like to look at the,
So let's look at our wish list.
Wish list,
That's part of this exercise here to say, well, what are the prospects here among the things we were thinking you might want to do? So, I got a bunch of stuff started.
yeah, I like the idea of looking at the ADA compliant access to the town hall. That seems a little out of date.
Yeah, me too.
And security upgrades.
Is that, what did you say?
Security upgrades to town clerk's office, Durris, window.
That's right.
That crap.
We need to revisit the whole,
Additional EV, no, I think the, heat pumps.
maybe, we
We're
might,
looking at.
yeah, because we might be able to get other,
heat pumps.
Might be able to get other funding. for
Yeah,
that,
some of
right?
the,
Right,
right.
and
If we look
crosswalks
now.
to the bus stop on 96B, I think we should look at, that's probably not a big cost.
What did you say?
Crosswalks to the bus. stop.
We can't just get that. That has to be the count for the
Right.
state.
state, right? Probably won't even let us do it. Just go out there and pay lines, right?
Actually looked up, they make a paint, or it's not, it's all the roads have special paint, it's, you know, that's how that's melted at 400 degrees.
Probably should be
I've seen
talking
that,
on the
yeah.
microphone.
We tried that here years ago, but, it didn't survive the flaws. So now they went back to regular paint. It's not as thick.
And all of these things, if we're looking at them before we decide, that's why I want to look at these things, but this is just words. I want numbers before I.
Right,
make a
exactly.
decision.
So
we need numbers.
We just need to, we need to identify what we want to do, and then we need supporting effort in order to flesh it out, get cost estimates and so forth.
And to find out whether, before we commit it, if there's other ways to get that money so that we
Right.
don't use the ARPA for something that would be a shame.
Were the
Possibility-
panic bars bought?
What's that?
Did we buy the panic bars for the doors?
Not yet.
We bought them, but they were
Well, we
paid
tried
and then
to
they, right, and then they went, they never arrived, but they got sent back. It was complicated. It was,
The order got canceled.
yeah. And they didn't, the people didn't say any reason. They just, my understanding is the company just didn't do it.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it didn't get
It
followed
didn't
up.
get followed up on, they reordered or ordered someplace else.
Right.
We'll have to do that. What about the, EV charging stations, we might be able to get subsidized on
Right.
that. With, Jim's looking into, make ready grant.
Can we look into that and the heat pump
Yeah, both
thing
at the same
to
time.
see if we can get
Yeah, those are both
funds from
interesting.
somewhere else?
Because if we couldn't get some,
Right.
we weren't going to include them, but I
Jim-
expect we can get them.
Jim.
One possibility, we talked about putting curtains back in place. Would help the acoustic.
They're, yeah,
It's not cheap.
They're
You gotta be-
fire.
There
you gotta be
wasn't,
fire
there was a lot of
resistant.
money. Tons of money.
And, Warren, who has some expertise in this, suggested that there are grant funds. You could make a case for, ADA compliance.
Well, yeah, I can't hear in here. I mean, I'm actually working on eyes and ears, but it's pretty hard in here.
So he suggested there's money to help address that, but I don't know where, worth checking out. I was hoping with regard to the ramp access, that we could use that same tack, in getting the court to, apply for a grant to add the handicap accessible door with an opener on it. It's sort of part of the project. But before we can do that, we need to have specs for the door and the opener, so that's the beginning of it.
Can I, just because I drew those
Yeah.
things up, and I would love to volunteer to help and do it. And if I could just work with Zach, we could get it done cheaply. But the question I always have is with the state funds and now federal funds, how much documentation and what's there's always a screening, meaning what they ask who these people are and whether they're certified to do what they're doing, kind of thing. And I just don't know, I haven't seen the document to know. I mean, we can just, because this is simple. I mean, we would knock that out in a week, certainly. That's easy.
Well, if you saw my plans, it'd take longer than a week, but.
Why am I not surprised at that?
Because the problem
But we
here is,
haven't decided on plans yet, so that's not part of the issue right now, but in terms of your,
I can volunteer, right?
I don't know why you can't, but we would have to we can double
Check that out,
issue.
yeah.
you can certainly volunteer, and so can I. But it's the actual work, getting to the point where we could get bids on it and stuff, is probably on us, but then having the work done is something that would qualify for using this monthly funds board.
Right. I just remember going through some of these processes about getting bids.
Yeah.
And the people who were coming in with bids almost had no idea what they were up against. And they were not local people. Yeah. And they were just extraordinarily expensive. And I'm talking like 10 times as expensive as someone who locally would do it. And we finally got the roof done. And somewhere in here, I'd like to find out what the process is so that we can get this approved and know that we're going to get a check.
Any public work, as you know, in New York State is subject to certain constraints.
Correct.
That it doesn't matter whether using ARPA money or any other money, that we have to do prevailing wage. There's all sorts of requirements for non-collusion and
well, let's not go through it. We don't need to do that right now, but
To be able to look that up.
yeah, right. And Laura did a lot of information.
And we want complete, you don't need to have.
Right.
What do you remember?
So those constraints apply to anybody, but they are constraints.
Okay.
It makes it more expensive to do anything.
Maybe not.
Then you're right. But anyway, yeah, okay. So the curtains are maybe.
You put them up and then who's gonna wash them, I actually like it without, there's other things that could be done acoustically, whether it be tiles, I don't know.
Yeah, floating. Hanging.
There are things besides curtains that could be
And so before we choose
acoustically.
curtains, the issue is, I think, here, acoustics, and you don't choose curtains without looking at other stuff, so we should look into it.
So that's a good point. Addressing the acoustic issue is something that we could potentially do money for.
Can, since Zach is on board, can he address us on any of these things while he's sitting here?
No, we need to let him have time.
He just, as I think, indicating that he has something he would like to say.
A really easy one I didn't print. Would be actually using rock wool, covered like in a muslin, so it doesn't look dirty and make panels. And you could line behind here, you could put some on the sides up there, a couple there, and it's fairly inexpensive compared, I mean, if you have like a.
We're talking about the Echo now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, acoustics.
Is that okay?
Wow.
I mean, it's great if you're making music, not so great if you're trying to hear speech.
Yeah.
But that would, it
So
was,
it's a sixties child.
We could also take down the curtain rods.
Yes.
Well, it sort of like, either one's work.
I think
If you did,
my-
you'd have to
Probably worse than money.
My understanding about the curtains is that it's much more a problem of things like fire retardant and all, and the
Yeah.
whole fire retardant material, there's so many
Yes,
issues
right.
about that with people with the fire, ABs, whatever it is, yes, so that these people are getting cancer because the firemen have to use, I mean, fire retardant is,
Of course, you know, I mean, it could have been fiberglass curtains in the first place, I mean, you wouldn't need retardant, but.
well, they all, no matter what it is, if you have a curtain, it collects dust and mites
Well, there is
and all
that,
that other
yeah.
stuff, so, I mean, it's probably not a great plan to put
The ones we
curtains back.
had before
That's
were,
why we're not looking at that now. The issue is acoustics, not specifics.
no, I mean, curtain is just one way of
Yeah.
addressing.
It helps, yeah, but,
Well, the value to me of them is the glare, which is a
Uh-huh.
big problem in a lot of meetings, and so that's the other part, but I am afraid that the issue of doing curtains is exorbitant and risky
it was
and
crazy.
dirty. I mean, curtains
I
do
don't
get
remember
dirty.
there being an issue with the ones we had though.
But they were beautiful velvet, I mean, they were
They were
beautiful,
Yeah.
but I'm
They get
sure they
They
were
collect
Yep.
dust.
pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, the
But if you don't-
wall,
if they
there's
don't
dust
show the
on
dirt-
walls.
They don't show it. That doesn't mean
Right.
it's not there.
Yeah, but who cares if you can't see it? Just-
People who have allergies care. Yeah,
Somebody does.
So these are things that we maybe could look at ADA type funding
right.
for.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
so we,
Can you,
Yeah.
once this, a list is made, can you like email it to everybody?
I did.
Is it clear?
In fact, it was linked to the agenda. You could have looked at it ahead of time.
Was it?
Yeah.
having
I
trouble.
did see the agenda when I couldn't print it. Yeah.
When was
Through
the
the town,
town?
leave it through
Okay.
the town hall. Don't go through Zoho.
Well,
Just do it, no, we can't.
He hasn't got access yet.
To go through Zoho, because I didn't go through Zoho to get.
Okay.
It's on the main part for the public.
I'll try each day this week.
Just go to the town hall website.
Are you giving this to me?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Copy that.
Well, you don't have access to.
Well, not today. I tried today, this morning, to get up, to get the agenda and everything. I couldn't sign in to do that.
Yeah,
And you were saying I didn't have to sign in.
no,
Not the very
But-
beginning.
Well, you can always get it.
So he was saying
website.
email was one thing. And
Yeah.
Go to the website.
But the
so
other
I gotta
problem-
go back. Mariah, can we work on this another? Yeah, we'll do it another time. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
You should be able to get at Work Drive, and it's important as a board member that you have access to Work Drive.
I did 1 month.
Because all of this stuff was in Work Drive over a week ago. In the meeting folder.
Oh, but you'd have to know which meeting.
right,
it
you have
was.
to, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to town board meetings, it's right there at the top of the list, because it's the most recent meeting. I had the agenda there a week ago. It
There's
did get.
nothing on it.
I
looked at that.
I'm sorry,
Well, I
I
mean,
printed it
you
off.
had the bottom, had these on it.
I don't see
Well, not
anything
this,
at all.
but
Oh, sorry.
it had the
The one
bottom.
that's completed
Wish
yesterday,
list. I
so
saw the
it's
wish
not
list.
there.
But it had this
That
one.
means it's linked, so.
Okay,
That-
we're getting caught in the
it's
weeds,
underlined.
people.
Yeah, we are.
We'll work on the problem
Yeah.
for fall, and it is on the main website, because these things are available to the general public from the website itself, not in Work Drive or any of that.
Yeah.
So that's fine, and we'll get it so that it's understandable, and then we can move through looking at the list.
Yeah. If you're gonna access it from the links on the agenda, that's problematic because they often don't get put on till the day before and sometimes the day of.
And the link's not there. Well, you get the words, but the link is not there. You can tell it's blue, but the link is there. It's black otherwise.
Right. What's the point?
Right now.
No, what I'm
Fran.
saying is that if you want to use the links on the web.
This is not the time or place, okay? I'm gonna start with Mariah, and then
Good
I'll move on to those others who want to help.
So how much, the salt shed roof replacement?
That got done.
It got, well, what gets done is that it was not an issue for a while.
Is it like $30,000 left?
Right, and we had some money saved up for it. It wasn't gonna be that much more, so we figured we could budget for it. And it wasn't gonna need replacing for a few more years. So
Okay, probably after
well, it says right here, not needed until after 2028.
2028?
That's what it says. I was talking to Jack about it. He didn't think it would necessarily go out that far.
He thought maybe it needs to be replaced before that?
Yeah.
Oh,
We also have money put aside for that. And it's not a huge expense that we can't
okay,
budget for or come up with that. If you're going through and committing some funds and there's a little bit left at the end that you want to maybe commit to something like that, that would be great, but it might not be a priority as compared to some of the other important things we're hearing you guys talk about. We can make this happen, okay? If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. The stuff on the second page and then the other list that I think are worth thinking about. Broadband was a major part of that
right.
first thing that they said, we can use it for that. We've been holding off because of the county's role. And it's still not clear. Well, at this point, the RFP that the county issued has been replied to, and they're dealing with it. But we haven't yet reported what kind of responses they got and what they wanted, what they're proposing to do as a result. But it's clear that the county is going to commit significant funds towards, getting access to those who do not currently have access. So, but what our role in it is not yet clear.
Because the county's not clear either.
Well, exactly. And we're kind of waiting on them because,
But they've moved farther along than I have.
yeah, they're getting there.
And again, if the county does it,
We don't do it.
bigger, you can get more discounts when it's a bigger operation, I understand. It's a smaller one, so if they do it, it will be to our benefit.
Right.
I know, I shouldn't ask all these questions, but there's Happily
Go right ahead.
and Time Warner are the two.
What's that?
Happily and Time Warner are the two that are in our area. I mean, how does that get worked out? Like whose line, whatever one's the most convenient,
Yeah, that's what.
These
the
are all
county-
very good.
are working on it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, and they've sent out requests for proposals. And they've been getting them back, and they're still in that process, so they're farther along than they have been.
okay, great.
I'm encouraged right now. They haven't been before.
That's very sweet of you.
We haven't been for a while, that's for sure.
And I've been asking exactly those same questions, Paul, because it's
Yeah.
not clear to me how, because they're asking for, bids for how you would extend the service. And it's hard to imagine how, Hagley would extend the service in the Time Warner area.
Right. Well, that's their problem.
Yes, exactly. So what they came up with and what they're going to propose is something we're all waiting with bated breath to find out.
And Dan's on top of it.
Well, Dan's interested too. We had the TCOG, the Public County Government, and when Anna Kellis was on the county legislature, she was keen on exploring the possibilities for municipal fiber countywide. That has not been something that the county administration has been particularly willing to even entertain. Yeah, it's a lot of money. There's a difference between, spending 8 million and spending 80 million. You could borrow to do it though, and it is the money, it would be a revenue generating thing, but it's a major capital project with significant bonding associated with it if you went to try to do it countywide. So Dryden is leading the way with municipal fiber. Caroline has committed their ARPA money to piggybacking off of Dryden, and extending, fiber, Dryden fiber into Caroline. We might have some prospect of doing the same thing by and by, but we're that much farther away. One's going to follow the other. So I'm not sure that we can get ARPA money for that. So it's tempting. What the thing that I'm looking down the road and saying they're going to be paying for these extensions, and the way it's typically done, has been done in the past, is they'll be subsidizing the extension of the lines, whether they're fiber optic lines or cable, and then after they've done it, they become the property of the company. So the public pays for it, but then the company owns it instead of the public, and they can charge whatever they want for the customers to hook up to it. It's not great, because if we were going to do municipal fiber, the most expensive part of the system is the part that we're about to subsidize right now, which is extending service to those, places that are farther out that the private sector hasn't been willing to do because it costs too much for the return.
Yes, but you're connecting to their existing lines.
Exactly. So is there some way, which is the question I've been asking, that we could, pay for the lines and not give it to them? Or, rent it to them, so to speak, until we put in we ran municipal fiber, which become part of a network, so we don't end up paying for it twice. I don't know. But I'd be interested to see what they come up with. The argument against doing anything like that is that, well, if they're the companies, and they're bidding on extending the lines, if their own lines that they're going to be extending, they'll do it for less than if they were doing it for somebody else. If Spectrum, which is now called, anyway, if they're doing it for Hafele, that's one price. If Hafele's doing it for Hafele, that's another price. Same thing, if Hafele's doing it for Time Warner, that would be a different price than if they're doing it for themselves. They should be extending their network. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out in the RFP process, but that's part of the consideration. The thought was that it's going to be cheaper to have them do it with their lines than it would be to have it bid as if it were,
That sounds sensible.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays out. So that's something that we might play a role in, but we don't really know yet. The community center.
Yeah.
Is something we've talked about, and David West and I approached the Park Association about the question of what about the park land, not the parkland, but the land that was excluded from the park that was supposed to be used for a community center, and finding out, getting some certainty on the question of whether or not it's possible to locate a community center on that land that was supposed to be used for the purpose. Because if it is, that says one thing, and if it's not, then we need, and we're serious about wanting to do that someday, then we could spend money acquiring property someplace to do a community center, making steps towards making a community center happen. If the park property is usable, then there were some ideas about, making the first steps towards expanding the services and facilities at the park, like adding public restrooms, a pavilion maybe with water, and it could be used for other things. Sort of building on the idea over time rather than committing to a major project of sort of a building that does everything. But we need some clarity regarding what are our options, whether or not the park is going to be a player in the whole thing. It bears on the property next door, for instance, whether we want to try hard to acquire it. If we had a purpose in view, it would be more of a motivator to try to do that.
I'm going to just say that the next thing has to be prioritizing these to see which
Yeah.
things are the most important.
Right.
And probably we're not gonna do this here now, but perhaps a couple of town board members could get together and do just that.
Well, I mean, 'cause the first step is identifying possible projects that might be usable, used for these funds, and that's what we're doing right now.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Do you
more,
know-
that's
do
the
you
thing,
know
we're pulling out.
Could somebody contact the owner of that property and find out what the options are?
Yeah, I already asked, well, David was gonna do it, didn't happen. And then, I asked Greg to do it, and I don't think it happened yet either. But we have the contact information,
Do you know who he is?
we do know who he is.
He is the employee of, you know? I can't remember his name, because I went through all this stuff with him.
Yeah.
And,
You talking about the current owner?
huh?
Talking about the current owner?
The current owner is the employee of this guy who, I can't remember his name, but he basically pulls the strings, even though this other guy owns the building right now. So, I mean, basically, you know, Steve has to write up, you know, condemn the building, tell him he has to tear it down, go through a court process. Doesn't really matter who it is. And he needs to do that. I mean, that's, yeah, Steve, another job for you. You understand what I'm
It is
saying?
getting to the point where it's looking like a tear down.
Yeah. I mean, I got him to tear down the garage.
Right.
That was years ago. And the building itself is really gone.
Downhill.
Great, I'm glad you're talking about this. And yes, we just have to get Steve on it and tell him to push it. Because it'll take months.
Saying the first thing that should be done is condemn it.
Yep, yeah, he has to condemn it, then he has to write up a letter to them. I can't remember the whole process. There's a court appearance typically, especially with this guy. He has the ability to make, he has properties all over the place. And he
Yeah,
knows
right,
how to
like
play the
this.
game.
Not Muka.
Yeah, it's Muka.
He sold it.
No, this guy works for Muka.
Well, he sold it to him.
It was an employee, yes. Well, yes, guess what? Yeah. This is one of the games he plays.
Oh,
So he sells it to somebody, quote unquote, sells it. The guy's an employee. So he doesn't really, he still has control.
Okay, well, it doesn't.
I mean, it still has to, you know, you still gotta start the process.
mhm.
Condemn it.
Well, the property would be more valuable in the absence of the house.
Ted, you replying about
Where
the
the
park
roads
or
are.
not?
No,
Only if it's the park.
no, no. Oh,
Ted, you want to contribute to the conversation?
Only to ask a question. I was intrigued by what Paul just suggested, but Paul, do you believe the condition of the building has changed since you condemned the garage? Because you did not condemn the building at the time. Why would it be, how could you force him to remove it? That was my question.
I'm downhill quite a
been
bit.
like 5 years. How many years is it?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's 5 years probably since I did that. The garage was falling in on itself,
Yeah,
which was the obvious low-hanging fruit that was, so he didn't fight that. And so the next step is the house, and Steve will do an inspection. But I think there's holes in the floors and the inside, and I mean, it's not, in some ways, it's a professional judgment, and I think that Steve will come to the same conclusion.
the roof is going.
And then it becomes a court issue. And, you know, the guy will probably say, well, I think I can renovate this. Well, the problem's always time frame, and he's just gonna drag it out as long as he can.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I see where you're headed. Thank you.
but the condemnation that I did was really straightforward, and he couldn't, I mean, it was falling down, so.
I'm just curious,
Huh?
do I remember something about filling in the basement?
Well, when
It
you
was
tear
full
down,
of
you
water
have
and
to
it got
leave.
filled with something to displace the water.
No, I'm gonna say no. I mean, you're right that there is an issue. We might have discussed it even back then. It might have been you even saying the same thing.
No, I wouldn't,
there is
I wouldn't have known.
There's been other houses, there's another house that down in the West Danby, where there was that flood that we had through there, and their basement flooded. And I had a concrete contractor come in and look at it, and he said it was gonna fall down. But the house is still there.
No, it's not. It could turn down this summer.
They finally tore it down?
Turn it down.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, well.
Anyway,
that's probably what you're thinking
but we're
of.
gonna talk about the access to the parkway. I'm sorry, that was
Yeah,
because
You want to say something? Yeah.
but it would be nice to find out what the options are for that property.
So this is news to me that the current owner is an employee of Chris New.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of regardless where the community center would go. And I guess this all hinges on, we moved here from a different town. And we are throwing a lot of our time and et cetera into not only building a home here, but starting a business that fosters community. Always sounds corny, but it's true. That being said, if it's, actually works, I wanted to donate my labor, like fully to build a community center. Obviously not, I can't cover materials, and I know that I bid against other contractors in this, but I don't think they can do it for as cheaply as inexpensively is the correct word, as I can.
Yes.
Affordably.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's, and it was in my mind as well when I was working with Michael, with the possibility of having some or all of the work be done by him. Or you, as a successor in this thing, or at least act as clerk of the works and the coordinator of, with subbing out what needs to be subbed out, as opposed to just doing the whole project and somebody else do it.
We tried to buy that property, by the way. We were trying to do that.
Yeah, and if they'd be willing to pay a little bit more, we could have had it probably, but we didn't.
No, it wasn't. He was just, you have no idea.
I do have some idea because I've dealt with Chris before.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, we were thinking about putting the library in there at one time,
Yeah.
and there was lots of things floated. I think there's a long way to go to get to that point.
Yeah, at that point, it was conceivable that the library could have gone into that building because it was not in same desperate straits as it is now.
Yeah, well, major renovation.
Yeah, even so, would have been. Any building is salvageable if you're willing to throw enough money. I saw.
So one of the things with the community center, the thought was to rule that either the park site is an option or it's not.
right, that's
So
what
we
I
need
thought we
to
were.
figure that out.
Yep.
Um,
So we need to contact again, Steve CPA. And of course, we need an annual update here on where they are with the IRS and the bylaws, because that was, we're working on it a year ago and I don't know where they are.
Well, it seems to me the other thing is we can't do anything unless it is, currently everybody in the town has to vote for it, right? So until something happens.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
I know,
We need some.
Right.
Regarding,
so, and I think the one question, if that land is or is not usable for it is, and in spite of, is it not allowed because of the wetland issue, or would it be? That would be a good question.
Yeah, and you can have a
You say
wetland
it would be?
delineation, to make it clear what you can and can't do.
Right, so then it's still not out of the question, that's all I'm saying.
Right, and that's something we could contribute to if we know that there was, the receptivity there. If there's not, then, we need to know that, so we can look at alternatives.
But last time we had said we wanted to determine that for the park. So that was already a priority to do, and we haven't done it yet. So yes, it's still a priority to check.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
do we know what's going on with the
Pat
school?
didn't come through. Could you please repeat what you said?
What I said was, The last time we did an evaluation of the wish list, we had decided that we needed to determine whether the park could put up
Would be an appropriate place.
in the park, and that's still a priority to determine that. That hasn't been done since the last time we talked about it.
Another one down here that is, I see as a critical need for the town going forward, and that's the water wastewater issue for the hamlet. We've got this engineering report. We need to focus some attention on it pretty promptly because we've only until March to modify it anyway. And toward the end of that report has well, first of all, you know, are we or are we not willing to entertain the possibility of installing sewers and maybe in either a community, either a treatment plant or a community leach field for one or the other or both hamlets, hamlet core versus the whole thing with the hamlet neighborhood. I thought it was a dubious prospect from the get-go, but we have to, as we discovered early on when we were looking at the project in West Danby, you can't chase money for anything without looking at all the options. So if we have now the options pretty much addressed in that engineering report, we have to look at them and say, what are we willing to entertain? And that's a community conversation that needs to take place on that, because it's a major commitment if we wanted to do sewers. And are we going to, how are we going to pursue it? You know, do we think it's important enough to actually pay for it ourselves? Is it only a possibility if we can get grant money for it? If that's the case, what's the prospect of our getting grant money for it? If it comes down to, well, we're only willing to do it if we can get grant money for it, the probability of getting grant money isn't very high, then it comes down to a question, well, what else are you willing to do to accomplish the goal of shared systems, which are critically necessary to do any kind of hamlet density? And I tried to get the engineers to address that. It's kind of toward the end of the report. There's a couple of things in there that we should take a good close look at and say, would this do the job, or do we need something more and something different? Because depending on what the answer to that question is, we could spend some of the money on further studies, or either further engineering work, or hiring a consultant, or paying for staff to figure out what else needs to be done. Because my original thought was I called it a floating district, where if we enable the sewer district, where if a developer put in a system that serves, say, multiple properties, to specifications that were acceptable to both the town and the health department, that could be accepted as a gifting at the end of a development project, and become a town-owned and operated system. And it would, the sewer district would land on that property, it would become part of a sewer district. So you wouldn't have to create a new district every time, or go to the great lengths that they had to do with Eco Village of having to create a transportation corporation in order to be able to have shared systems. You need to make it easier for a developer to do than the alternative, which is to simply put individual well and septic in, which doesn't get us where we want or need to go. So,
are we making a motion on this right now, or are we?
No.
Okay. I heard that engineer's report. It was astronomical, the amount of money that was going to take to do this.
Yeah, it's $2 million plus for Danby, the core of Danby, and over $3.5 million, I think, for West Danby because of topography.
All right.
So that's a lot of money.
Yes. I mean, I understand. You just summarized everything very well, and still, I can't believe, why are we wasting time on this? Because I mean, it sounds like a wonderful exercise to think about it, but at 2 million plus,
It's not, is this another one of those things that would have money come back from it, because people would be paying into having, when they bought,
Oh, sure, I mean,
so
yeah,
there is
but
revenue.
it's
to
more
come.
money to run the system than to,
Then they would be paying, like,
than to
you
actually
know,
put
I
it in.
lived in places where we had public services, and I know it was part of the water bill, and same thing for Eric's bills that I paid in Milwaukee, I know that that's part of it, but
Think about the
mean,
difference though,
that's
Milwaukee,
why I'm asking.
downtown,
Oh, I
Ithaca,
realize that.
you know, we're talking about
Well, I
different
was also
densities.
talking about small places, but I realize that, but the idea of saying flat out, we're never going to do this is, I'm gonna just say it's sort of irresponsible because of the way the world is. We sometimes have to think about how we can have more population that is somewhat self-supporting. We cannot take all the water out of the ground for each house, and we can't keep dumping water in the ground from each septic. I mean, we have to do something, or we just don't grow the hamlet. Is that right or not? I mean, was that too simple?
That's, I think it's an overstatement. I mean, because
Okay.
when you check groundwater sources, that's a large system. That's beyond even Danby. It's huge. And either you have sufficient water underground
Right.
for this, whatever's being built, or you don't. So they will not give you a permit unless that there's enough water to do just that.
Right.
we do have an aquifer, and we now know what its capacity is, which we didn't know 10 years ago, because we had the study done. So that-
Actually, I think one of the major things is that, with that amount of money, the town can't do it. The only way the town can do it is if there's grant money available. Now that we could look at,
Right.
and that's a good chance of that.
There is a good chance of that.
Well, I mean, there's a good chance that we look, and I will say that the climate, or if you will, the funding environment is better now than it's been in decades. With the federal government providing money for that sort of stuff. The problem is that the money flows to where the need is greatest first. And places that have a contamination issue are much better positioned to attract that money than places like Danby, where we don't have a big issue with failed septic systems and contaminated streams from as a consequence. It's a much harder sell.
So
Now, the engineers have tried really hard to make a case for why, we have tight soils here, they're not very well suited to septic. Municipal system would make a lot of sense. There are failed systems.
So this is what I'm gonna
Pretty
say,
big
is that I've just started looking at this downtown corridor to see what kind of lots are out there and who owns those lots and how big the lots are. I plan on I'd like to go to these individuals who own some of the larger lots and see if they have any interest at all of selling it or being developed on those lots. I'd like to look at, I'm gonna actually go down to the health department and check to see about where those shared septic systems would take place. Don't forget, we have a stream that's right here.
Yeah.
And it has to be a certain distance away from the stream.
Right.
Just on those things.
Right.
But the density of a small city town, like any of these other cute places we have, Dryden, Trumansburg, it doesn't exist here yet, and it may never exist here. So, and part of those questions are exactly that. So I think we have to consider that this is not going to happen in the way, you can table it. It's a document that has information that might be used in the future if you can find some kind of funding for something like this. But that's going to be a hell of a grant. That,
Well, I hear what you're saying.
there's not a demand
Yeah.
yet for this kind of,
No, it would be an enabling move.
Well,
a lot of things, if we're talking.
I think
about-
there's better ways of enabling growth in the downtown area. And, I think it's fine for you guys to keep it all open in your mind, but I'd like to pursue some other avenues. Just have a different concept of what that downtown area could be in 10, 20, even 50 years. Because that's, when you start looking at that time frame and how fast things are being built here in Danby, but not necessarily here,
Yeah,
right? So, I'm gonna pursue other avenues.
Well, I think that I will only say one more thing. That's the reason for trying to think about the hamlets, is because people don't want to build up all the farmland. Like, I mean, if you look at environmentally, if you can consolidate and have the land still available for quote farming or for air exchange for oxygen or whatever, all these other things. But I mean, I know it's a big concept, and it's not, I hear what you're saying, and when we are not likely to get a grant considering the poverty of many places where the water quality is terrible or there's contamination. That is true. That would put us lower on the list.
yeah.
But when you said, I'm thinking that the 50, 100 years hence issue.
Yeah, because if you
It's
keep
just
it alive
like
that
you're
long,
making it
perhaps, because our imagination doesn't go that far.
I mean,
I don't know, some of the
yeah.
I always think about the trailer park. I mean, that has.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Louisville too.
Well, see, that's the thing is that
We could put a system like that together,
Right.
I know the whole thing
Yeah.
about, well, then it only works if one person owns the property. So, I mean, with all this stuff, but I
that's what I was trying to
don't, I mean, I feel like this is all an issue that would be really, we need to think about different options, see what other places do and stuff. But I don't feel like it's really relevant to this money.
To the ARPA. The only-
It's money.
You don't think it's gonna be, it can't be used in a
I
time.
think there's too many other things that impact.
Well, I agree with
residents
that too.
That residents would want, that would be a benefit to people who live here. Everybody, or a lot of people. I mean, when you're talking community center, a library, I mean, there are other things that I think we should keep this somewhere, but I don't want it on this list. That's my.
And the only reason that means to me the same thing is don't spend money on another study that maybe. I mean, that's to me, it's always a thing of all these thousands of dollars we spend on studies and then we can't do anything with
Luckily,
them.
those are all grants.
Yeah, they're
That was
grants.
grant money.
Because Jim's really good at getting grants for us for a lot of studies too. Jim Hollihan.
Well, for energy stuff.
Yeah, and it was.
And David was very good at getting.
And David did a lot of grant stuff.
Actually, it was Hunt that
Right.
took that picked up on what we got a $5,000 grant from the county to look at the question of how do we do shared systems.
Right.
And basically the conclusion was that there's not enough money there to get anybody.
I hook up to the town,
With-
I have a sewer. I
Yeah.
mean,
And then Hunt said, well, you can get more money.
Let's move on. Right, let's move on.
So
Talk about this shit.
well, you're willing to move on, but I'd like to say a little bit more.
Don't forget to put that last comment in the minute.
Yeah, right. Oh, we're talking too long, right?
We're
Well,
getting close to 2 hours.
There is a recording though,
Yeah, there's a recording.
although I don't see Otter here. The Otter's here.
Yeah.
The battery.
Well, what you just said, Leslie, is basically where I was in the first place. If you think about it, if you were doing, and we got feedback from the Environmental Facilities Corporation that the report that the engineers submitted has a lot of problems that ought to be fixed.
Mhm.
And a lot of the things that they fingered as needing fixing were things that I have pointed out as well. So I'm hoping that they can be addressed. Because if you think of sewering what was that? We're going to that one. One of the things they pointed out was that, they're underestimating the cost of the so-called package plant, as opposed to a community leach field. Community leach field is what Newfield does.
Yeah.
They've got individual septic tanks, but then the effluent all goes to a community leach field.
Right.
So if you think of a trailer park, it's specifically that way. You've got a community leach field. A community leach field that would serve the core of downtown is what that
is what that sewer study is about.
Yeah.
Just putting in the sewer lines and then having a place for a leach field to be. If we can, if we have the ultimate goal to be that, maybe we could do, projects that are servicing, if
Certain
areas,
areas like
right?
we were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to your point, Paul,
Wait a minute, wait. This thing you just said is that we could do projects that would, well, first of all, you said, if we put in the leach field, we could do projects that, but that's the question, is that you're now stepping into the realm of private enterprise from a public standpoint. So you could provide the infrastructure for those things to occur.
yeah. Well, it's a public-private partnership, if you will, collaboration. We can make it easier for a developer to do shared systems.
Correct.
That's what I want to do.
Right.
Even if it's just to enable eco-village type development, so that instead of having to do a sprawling subdivision on 1.5 acre lots, because that's what you need if you're going to individual
Now I
well
agree
and
with
septic.
you, but we can do as we are, we could do the background to do this kind of stuff, and that's what we should be working on now.
Yeah, correct.
And that's kind of where I'm going
Yeah,
with it.
because right now we're just talking.
Well,
and not
we've
moving
reached the
forward.
same point then.
Okay, right.
So.
But we haven't yet.
In wrapping up this discussion, this study, we need to respond, we have to do something before March.
No, we don't. Oh, that study, the source study.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should, between now and then, have a community conversation about whether or not we even want to entertain the possibility of doing what the engineers recommend in that report,
Okay.
which is sewering the two hamlets.
Is that like hooking up to Ithaca?
No, it's doing a source system for that would serve the
Yeah,
core.
you may not have been here at that meeting.
No, I've got,
The hamlets, the core hamlets of Danby and West Danby.
Right.
Is their recommendation as what we ought to do.
Okay, so we should get
So
a
we
group
should-
together.
You want to vote on it
Presidents.
next month, or you want to work, the next meeting? You want to do it now?
We need a little more time than that, but we do have to get to it early on in the new year. And
Maybe we could put it at the February, 2 meetings in February, to talk about it, or have a special meeting.
yeah, and we want to engage the public in this conversation.
Right.
It's a community decision about, do we want to
Right.
do what they're suggesting, which is a major commitment for the town of Danby, saying, okay, we say we want to grow the hamlet. One way to do it would be to put in a sewer system, which would
But really,
enable all
when,
kinds of things to happen.
I'm sorry, but when the proposition becomes absurd.
Yeah.
We don't need to put that out and
No.
have everyone discuss it.
That's right.
It's an absurdity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when it's so outlandish to think that we might be able to do something like that, we should be able to filter this out from discussion.
Well,
One of the things we don't want is to do something that will automatically dump it for years to come. Because the public already says they get turned off badly by it. And that's what we risk doing if we, bring it up.
Put it
as
out there at
is.
all?
As is, yes.
well, certainly a conversation we should have.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah.
sometime February.
I mean, it's what they're suggesting. And, I was dubious from the get-go.
Okay.
But I would like to have a sense that, there's not a bunch of people in the town saying, yeah, we really ought to go for this. This is the way to make a major investment in the future of the town. I mean, we haven't had any feedback on the subject as of yet. And if everybody says, no way, Jose, then fine. I'm okay with saying, okay, we looked at it. There's no real feeling that this is a realistic prospect for us. And so we'll set it aside.
Suppose they don't, and suppose there's no comment.
We've already had some comments.
Okay, good.
Well, I mean, I think if people got this, if people thought it was a harebrained idea,
And if we actually put it out there that we haven't heard from anybody, so we're gonna propose it, I think you'd get some comments.
We would. All I'm
Be
hoping is
astonished if
that,
we don't.
what I hope is that a conversation like that would at least entertain options, that we would find out. I mean, there are some people that don't want another house built in Danby, period, no matter what, that's it.
Yeah.
And there are other people
Anywhere.
who, right, anywhere, whatever. And there are other people that would like to see, concerned about senior housing or affordable housing.
Mhm.
And if something like this could spur the idea that this is only one thing, it's supposed to make us think and, maybe help us to move in a direction of some of those long-term wishes of people who look forward.
Yeah. And to that point, I was thinking this afternoon that, not on this list, but perhaps ought to be, is senior and affordable housing.
It's on the list.
Is it? Where?
It's on my list, other senior housing.
Senior housing has been
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
senior
list,
housing is
yes,
up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Affordable's not, but
No,
why don't we just add it? So the question is, well, it's not a question. It's no question that if shared systems were enabled, it would reduce the cost of construction.
Right.
Because you'd have smaller lots. Reduces the infrastructure costs, the roads, and the infrastructure itself. Septic. Shared systems like as the trailer park is Leslie alluded to, way cheaper than the kind of sprawling subdivision we had with all of our subdivisions.
okay.
So we can look at, how could we facilitate that? And that's all back to that whole question of, if not a sewer, then what?
And now we've passed 8 o'clock, just.
I know.
Oh, yeah, I love that. But that's all I had on my list as identified. Well, the solar arrays, that needs further investigation. And we are looking at
we looked into it. Paul and I met with Laura, and particularly now, especially when she mentioned that there's money left over. The one option, especially this year, is to look at that and putting something from the fund balance additional into that. And at the time, it does appear to be the most cost-effective long-term to purchase it, but we don't have to decide that for 3 more years, so we can keep looking at it. But if we do something from the fund balance and put it in, that would be useful. And as Laura said, when it was first developed, I wasn't part of this, but when it was first developed, I gather the assumption was it would come from the fund balance anyway.
Right.
Yeah, we're supposed to save up for it.
We were
Not,
supposed to.
well, no, she was
No, she didn't say that.
earmarked. Not, it wasn't like cast in stone or
Right.
however you might do that, but it was agreed upon that this money was earmarked
What
for
money?
the solar array.
What money?
There's been
Part of
some
the
money
fund
earmarked over the years from the budget. It has been in the
Yeah,
budget
yeah.
over the years. And again, what Laura said for this year, which is why I said that during the budget hearing, that we did not add it to the budget, that it would likely that this money that we could earmark for that again. And again, earmarking means we don't vote that says it has to be done this way.
Right,
That means if you change your mind,
you can do it.
after 2 years, you don't have to use it for that purpose, which is better than earmarking.
Put it in the reserve fund, and then you can't use it for anything
That's
else.
what I just said.
Yes, it is.
And again, it would appear at this point in time that it's much more cost effective to buy it than continue, because we're paying money. We can look on the vouchers, we're paying money every month.
Yes, that's right.
But if we look at that long term, again, in 3 years, we can reevaluate it. But as long as we have some money earmarked, but that's why we'll look at money from the fund balance this year at the end of the year, in January.
But is it possible to use, can we buy it sooner than later?
No.
And use the ARPA money for it?
Does it make sense to?
I believe that there are certain timeframes that we can do it, and I don't believe you can do it earlier.
Right.
That's what we read in the contract, that there are certain, is it okay if I talk?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there's, in that contract, there are specific dates, specific, timeframes that you have this to this to this, yes.
10 years, we have the option to buy it. Or a
And remember, remember we were gonna get a third party also? I'm sorry about that, Paul. We were gonna get someone to come in and just take a look at the system. And, you know, from an engineering point of view and from, you know, to see the shape that it's in right now, to see if that would be a good thing.
So I raised Dave Teddy used to work for Tatum.
Yeah.
As did
Yeah.
Jim Holohan, so we could check whether he has the credentials or not to do just what we're talking about.
But we wouldn't do it until,
No, we can check it now.
You can check it now.
Yeah,
see what
check it
condition
now. You
it's
wanna
in.
look at the, you
Certainly don't want to wait till the last minute.
infrastructure now.
Yeah.
There's
Why would
also
we-
another person in
why would
town
we check it?
very
We can
experienced.
buy it for a couple more years.
Well, it may not be worth buying if it's
If
in
we
a
get-
certain condition right now.
Right now, we
The
know
other
that.
thing
It
is
just
that
eliminates some
there's
problems.
some information about how long these things last,
Yeah, that's what we need.
and that's what we need.
And if
And you know
it
that-
lasts 3 years after we buy it, you know, what do we do with it? I mean,
Exactly.
I mean, my solar array is still producing fine after 15 years,
Wow.
so.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect to be an issue,
Okay.
but it's certainly an evaluation one we want to do before purchasing it. But if we don't have the prospect of purchasing it for a couple more years,
Well, I think
should
David,
plan ahead.
We need to plan ahead because we need to look at whether we're gonna have money, available for it. So that we need to know now. So that's why we need to do an evaluation now,
but then won't we have to reevaluate 3 years because
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
3 years later?
maybe. But what the part of this evaluation is not what the current status is.
She
The
waived it.
evaluation
She's
is,
waiving.
the particular, what needs to be done and really on that, that's
She
not gonna
really-
change. We want to look at the long-term status of how long they will last. That won't change now if we do the analysis
That's what
now.
Laura,
Yeah,
maybe she's trying to.
right.
Cool.
There's also another gentleman in town, and I always pronounce his name wrong, and I'm sorry to this gentleman that I do that. Maurice, I know he ran for office, he ran for town,
Oh, right.
but he has done this really all his life. As a matter of fact, he made a phone call to us, and I misplaced his phone number, I didn't have it. But he had called to express an interest in that from us talking about it in the board meeting, for him to come out and do an evaluation too. So there is someone right in town also who has a lot of experience in this that we could contact.
That sounds
To
good.
do the evaluation, yeah.
Yeah.
Do an evaluation of it, yes.
Oh, yeah, I think Zach has his number.
So the bottom line here is that the solar arrays are not a possible use of the ARPA money. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Because
guess
it's not,
so.
because it's not,
Yeah.
it doesn't fall within the time frame that we can
Correct.
put the money in.
Oh, darn.
But it could fall within the time frame that you spend it, right? Let's look at that exact date on that contract.
Well, you have to
Is that a
2026.
possibility to renegotiate that too, Paul? If we needed to up it a little bit?
oh, man. Wow, it was part of I don't know. Anything's possible.
Let's
Likely.
get that exact date back on the table and see where we come with it.
Yeah, I would try not to like get into renegotiating it just because it's just putting it off. Like either we're gonna want to do it or we're not gonna want to do it.
Well, no, the question is not, do we want to or not? Although, the evaluation will help determine whether or not we want to do it.
Right.
But if we want to do it, can we use this money to do it? Or do we have, or is that not a possibility? And what I'm hearing is that it is only a possibility if we renegotiate, because the original contract doesn't fall within the timeframe that we can do the ARPA money for. Is that?
In other words, they might let us pay it off early. They might do something to let us make that payment earlier.
But you said we could earmark it, correct?
But we need to use.
Well,
To
we
use
it
it,
before
we have to commit the ARPA money to do it.
earmark it.
Yeah. Well,
You earmark it next year and then you have 2 years following that, so that you have to.
To spend it.
which would be pretty straightforward, we just do something like this.
Matches, right, it matches that time,
Okay.
looks like to
Sounds-
me.
So it sounds like.
I think that's gonna fall, I think we're gonna be okay date wise. From what I'm remembering about the contract. Let's
So I
look
think
at it.
Worth
Yeah.
checking out whether
Yeah.
or not we could use the ARPA money for it.
Yeah.
And that involves evaluating the condition of the
Right.
system and what its prospects are. As well as, maybe negotiate if we have to.
I actually would like to have, Rachel take a peek at it. If he-
Yeah,
that is,
that's a good
it
idea.
is in his
Well,
bailiwick.
we want to take action right now to authorize doing it?
No, Laura, Laura. You already has that option. Yeah,
Just-
she can do it. She can do it.
He does?
Yeah.
You think what might-
I'll give him a call. I'll give him a call. We'll talk about it. See
How much-
what he would charge or what, how we would want to go about that. And I'll bring the information back to you.
Okay.
So Laura will look into that.
I will do that. Yes.
Okay, great.
Right, I also,
Plus, I need to talk to him to apologize that I lost his number. Okay.
on this list is also a codification of our laws and regulations.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I definitely want that. I really
I'm
want
not
it.
so-
to do it, she
I'm not,
doesn't wanna do it.
yeah, I'm not so hit when he
Oh,
brought it
I'm
up.
hip on that.
Well, anyway, I am in contact with the fellow who's would very much like to do that for us. And I'm getting, this is what he sent me today. But, just right off the bat, it would cost around $16,000 just to set it up. And
There's
that's,
an annual
and,
expense on top.
and then there's an annual thing.
Mhm.
And then there's, depending on what your schedule is for updating, some places update yearly.
Mhm.
Some places do a quarterly, that impact, and then
May make a difference.
the cost of that is,
Yeah.
it's
Well, those,
costs a lot of money, but, I'll get more information.
I was initially reluctant to go this way. But the more I hear about it from people that whose opinions I value, including Steve and Greg, the more I'm inclined to think that it might be a good use of ARPA money to take the leap to put us in a better position.
Yeah, so you want me to ask him if he can come and talk to us?
It's not a bad idea.
Right.
There are companies that do that. He's with one of them, or?
Well, this is the guy, it's, what is it? It's E code 360. I guess it's,
that's the one.
Yeah.
it's the
That's
most
the one,
popular,
E-code.
he's got a list of all the
Mhm.
places around that have got it.
Including town especially. Like,
I didn't see Spencer on the list, but,
Steve says they've had,
Yeah.
oh, maybe it's a different company.
Well, it might be a different company, and if it's so, we should check
But-
them out.
He's working on, Trumansburg right now. I thought Ulysses,
Yeah, 'cause
so I
it-
thought the town of Ulysses already did it.
Yep,
Because that's what we were looking at 2 years ago,
right.
um,
Everybody
the list is-
talks about how easy it is to find this on these websites. A lot of that is because of the conversation.
yeah, I mean, it's,
Keep us out of trouble is one of the things I'd like to see.
Tompkins County, Village of Cuba Heights, Town of Dryden, Village of Groton, City of Ithaca, Town of Ithaca, Town of Lansing, Tompkins County, Town of Ulysses, that's right. So,
Yeah, Guys King too,
huh?
Guys King too. Guy Crow,
What about it?
he's keen on codification
Oh.
also.
That might be an automatic no.
I mean, we
because
have
of it.
to look
I
at
want
it.
to, we know.
Oh, no.
Probably
Forget
charging,
it.
oh my God.
I don't know. I'm one of those that, we had an organized person here, we could
Yeah,
do our
like-
own codification, and it's not, it hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked out yet.
Um, So,
It's a good time commitment to.
not, not
Maybe
really.
not.
How often does something change?
Quite
So-
frequently, actually. but-
No, not around here, it doesn't, it could be, could be 5 times a year. It's, anyway, but it will, it'll mean that somebody will have to give him the information.
Yeah.
You know, we've
Yeah.
been dealing with situations where, well, I can't give it to somebody because nobody gave it to me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we need to not have those kind of situations anyway. So I'll see if he can.
So codifying means you're gonna organize them so that there's a index.
Yeah.
So you can
It's an
find
index and a template. It's a template that I
more
mean,
than
it bothers me, even the headings of the template. So, you know, it's a funny, look up the town of Ulysses. I don't know.
Okay, go take a look at
Yeah.
Town Ulysses, yep,
Um,
and see what they got
Yeah,
for $16,000.
Really, a couple of years ago when when a couple of us were actually sort of codifying
Yeah, you and.
all the stuff.
Sarah would be-
You know, we actually looked at that and it was just kind of like. But some of it just had to do with the awkwardness of the template.
Are you gonna get someone to come and speak to the board?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. His name is Todd.
Oh, very good.
What's Todd's last name?
Metcalf. House. Met,
Okay, that's enough.
Met,
Don't, Metcalf, yeah, oh, there you go.
like
Yeah,
CAL.
Metcalf,
Yeah.
that's a real name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a real name.
Anybody else on the wish list?
I think we've hit the things that are likely to be, I mean, a lot of stuff on the wish, but the ones for which we might possibly use ARPA money is the objective.
But we've got things that we need to check out ADA grants to see what on our
Yeah.
list
Right.
might
Right.
fit into there.
Right.
We need to check out that property next door.
Yeah.
And we need to deal with any possibilities of situations at the park.
Right.
Do you know what's going on at the school?
Something going on in school?
Well, it just seemed like people in the neighborhood thought that something was either moving out or moving in. That
I
there was
haven't heard words about
activity
that.
that was.
Yeah.
What's that?
There are big cars in and out. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, they do have some
More than
offices
usual?
in there.
They do
Yeah,
have some offices in a lot of
Yeah, but
schools.
it's different. It's a different,
Yeah, different levels of
Yeah.
activity.
yeah.
Such a waste of a big
I
building.
know.
You know, well,
Talk about community
Community centers.
Oh, and now then, when you talk about the money, it doesn't sound so
Auction
bad.
house, I was
Mitigate
thinking.
mitigate all of the, asbestos. But what they did is they tore the place apart inside. I mean, they built up and got rid of, and the community council went on a little
Oh, really?
tour a couple of
Right.
years ago. And they got rid of the nice gym and they packed everything with old computer stuff and it's supposed to be no children can actually spend a lot of time in there and but now when we're talking about millions of dollars, that doesn't sound so much compared to the septic. But it's not ours to decide. We don't have options for it, do we?
No, it belongs to the
Yeah.
school district.
Right.
The town could have had it for 60,000 to call it.
Wow.
Yes, but as you said, maintenance and costs to upgrade it. would
Yeah,
have been
well, the
prohibitive.
thing is that
Somebody
the
probably could have
school
bought it,
district,
Put apartments in there or something.
Oh, yeah. Senior housing.
right, to make it back into a school was an obstacle
Yeah.
because because it had stopped being a school. A lot of things were not grandfathered and it was as if it were building anew. And then you were looking at millions of dollars to bring it up into the current code.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, oh, well, right. But, you know, compared to the cost, it's in the same ballpark.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went 20 minutes over past
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
without a resolution.
Yeah.
Well, no,
To
to
do
say
it.
that.
No, to do it.
Yeah.
To do the
Do you want to
20
copy
minutes
this?
after.
Do you want me
Yeah,
to see if I can
well, we got
copy this in the
resolution.
comments?
But I think we're done with the agenda. Consequently, oh, wait, one more thing.
I'll copy it for you.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
What,
They're not doing it.
what is it?
Sharing about county private accidental. We deleted that.
I could copy it on the machine.
Dan asked us not to do that one.
Yeah.
Done.
That was civic issue. The one item that hasn't been dealt with is the next meeting agenda.
Oh, God.
Anybody have anything you want to specifically make sure we talk about?
We need to, talk about, well, we don't, if we're not gonna, if we're not gonna interview anybody. Well, if more applicants come through.
Yeah,
We
can
might,
talk about whether
there might
that,
be people we don't know.
yeah.
So what's, can I just ask, okay, we know these people that are coming up now. If no one else applies, then not the next meeting, or the meeting after that, we would
Like the first meeting in January.
we would say, you're in.
Right.
We just vote on it.
We have to vote.
Well, at the organizational meeting, which is what the first meeting in January, where January will be our organizational meeting, there'll be a slew of resolutions that are part of that meeting. And that includes, appointments, who's going to be appointed to the planning board, who's going to be appointed to the BZA, who's going to be appointed to the water district committee. And then who are the chairs going to be? That also is our appointment. So we make that determination as well. So,
So you're saying with the slew of things, it's gonna make this meeting look like a piece of cake?
yeah, well, except that those resolutions
They go
are,
faster.
Oh, it goes fast.
yeah, and you can also group them. We did that last year, resolutions 1 through 6, where, make a motion to deal with them all at once. And a lot of them are pretty pro forma, so it doesn't take that long.
Right.
But-
We even talked about spreading them out.
But that's something I will have to prepare, as part of my responsibility, in advance of the meeting.
Yeah.
And it will be a work drive at least a week before, for everybody to look at. And I can make a special effort to make sure that everybody has access to it. What's that?
She's gonna teach me how to be well, adjusted.
Or just get it to you.
Oh.
One of the two.
Yeah, one way or another, we need to get you access to the relevant materials in a timely way.
Or at least the ones that
That's
you
the
want.
perfect way of saying it. Relevant materials in a timely way.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that, meeting adjourned.
I saw a wish for agenda item from the gallery, but I don't know what it is.
Yes.
Yeah,